What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com, and today I am back with another edition of the betting show from a very blustery, windy, stormy Ireland here. But you're looking, it's nearly the summertime, so what else could you expect out here? But it's a summertime in terms of MMA this weekend. There's a lot of good stuff on. I think most of it probably flying under the radar. There is PFL card, which I've already previewed. The UFC are back with a very good main event. The rest of the card be a bit iffy. But Cage Warriors also have a great card as well. And there's some Octagon and there's some other LFA card as well, I believe. So for all different parts of the world, there is some great MMA on this weekend. So it's sometimes it's a drought and other times it's a flood of MMA, and it's definitely a flood this weekend. So looking forward to all of it. Last week, we started off the year on such a great run, and it's been tough for the last couple of weeks. Only 1 out of 4 again. The Flier didn't hit. We're 21 of 45 overall, 4-12. That record is getting like progressively worse. Worse there after such a great start. But look, I promised that would happen as well. So just to recap last week's bets, Burns inside the distance at plus 115. I was very confident in that. It didn't happen. And I think everyone who watched that fight kind of knows what happened in that fight. It was Burns could definitely have got him out of there in the third. It was one of those ones where I felt like, Masvidal kind of knew he couldn't win, and Burns kind of knew he couldn't lose. And, as Chael Sonnen has spoken about, there was kind of an unsaid agreement kind of made there, like, let's just kind of get to the final bell and I'll take the win, you'll take the last kind of thing, which is not good for bettors, which is not. And now maybe that's me being a bit spiky there that the bet didn't come off, but I don't know. I'm going for it anyway. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Ponzinibbio inside the distance a plus 201. I think that was a good price. I bet the price there, as I said last week. It was a relatively even fight. But Kevin Holland definitely had a good performance, and he ended up getting the finish, obviously, in the third after an even couple of rounds. The one bet that did hit is Rizan Kuniev, a minus 185. I said last week I thought that was a great price, and it turned out to be, he kind of dominated that fight, so that was good. The over on Ferreira versus Izzy at 3.5 rounds didn't happen. Obviously, it ended at the death of the second. If it hadn't ended at that stage, when would it have ended? I don't know. I think that bet probably wouldn't have been good anyway, because it was a kind of a more of a destructive fight, I think, this one. So yeah, not a great one. The fight turned out, the fight turned out differently than I expected because of the way kind of Izzy reacted to the way Alex fought. So it turned out to be a good fight. And in the Flyer, it was Julia Budd at plus 550. That was very close, very, very close fight. I think I called that one pretty well, to be honest. I said I thought Bud would do better. I said I thought Pacheco would win, but that plus 550 price was too much. And anyone who watched that fight would agree with that. That plus 550 fight was too much. But alas, we, many rooms could be floored with good bets that didn't end up happening. So that's another one you can throw into there. But it's a new week. Please bet responsibly. If you didn't bet responsibly last week, you probably won't be betting this week. So please bet responsibly, especially with my bets, because they're, then the most of them lose. So, well, yeah, most of them do lose, I suppose. I'm 21 for 45, so yes, most of them literally do lose. But I think, do you know what? I could easily pick like minus 700s every week and just get you all winners, And maybe in the description, I actually have saved all my bets. So if anyone wants to go back and like price them up in terms of like the actual plus, 200. I think we probably have made money if we do that. So if anyone has time to do that with like 60 bets, feel free. I have kept all the records anyway, which I decided to do at the start of the year because last year it was kind of, it got away from me and it was like, we did it for a while. But yeah, I'm kind of happy I did that. But anyway, let's get into the bets for next week. Right, so I have 2 UFC bets, I have 2 PFL bets, and I have 1 bet, the Flyer this week from Cage Warriors. Very interesting bet, the Flyer this week. I'm going for, okay, I won't give it away, but a similar Flyer to last week. Right, first bet of the week is Max Holloway at minus 170. Look, I'm not ready to write off Max Holloway yet, and I think he will give a performance here. That's the first thing, and that's how I would start out my logic behind this bet, because it seems like it's a fight, right, where Arnold Allen is the next in line. You know, he wins and he gets a title shot, absolutely. I think, even if you don't like Arnold Allen, even if you think whatever about him, you'd almost have to agree with that. Like, he is clearly the next in line. Like, you look at some other way, say like Belal. I think most people probably agree maybe Belal should have got it, but like, it isn't like, oh, Belal 100% definitely deserves it, you know? It could be Chimaev, you know, obviously they're giving it to Colby, but it could be Gilbert. There's a lot. At 145, it's 100% should be Arnold Allen. Like, they made a ridiculous interim title fight between two guys who should have been behind him in the order to get the interim title fight. Arnold Allen was injured at the time for a few weeks, and we know what happens in the UFC. So that's the position he finds himself in, right? And I respect Arnold Allen so much. I think he's brilliant. I think it'd be great for himself and even the UFC and everyone if he was to get a big win here and get a title fight. But Max Holloway is not the guy you put someone in there against to get to the next level, right? Not yet, anyway. Certainly not yet, I don't think. He is a brilliant fighter. He is the type of fighter as well that, similar to Jose Aldo. Do you remember the Jose Aldo fight after the McGregor fight? He just, I was quoted, but someone said he got knocked out in 13 seconds against McGregor, and then against Frank Yeager decided not to get hit. And it feels like Max Holloway is still the best guy in the world in that division outside of Volkanovski. You know, it feels like Max Holloway is almost the best guy who used to be a champion, who's no longer the champion in the UFC. I went through that the other day on the podcast now, and there's a couple, obviously, you know, Valentina Shevchenko and a few more as well, but he's up there. If he's not number one, he's one of the top 2 or 3, and you can even argue people on the way up as well. He's still as good or better than almost all of them pound for pound. He is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant fighter. And he is rightly the favourite here, I think, and I think if you go into this fight, and I was kind of thinking about it, and, you know, I tend to have a little bit of analytical bias towards the guys that I would have seen fight for a long time, because I just know their games a little bit more, like in Arnold Allen, or like, you know, all the crowds from Cage Warriors coming through there, or, you know, a lot of the European fighters and things like that. And you have to put that aside for a second, because you look at Arnold Allen and you think, God, he's strong and he's good in this area, that area, every area, really. And you think, right, he's a tough fight for anyone. But you actually, when I look at the matchup here, I actually find it very hard to see a definitive route for Arnold Allen, apart from him stepping up his game in a big way, right? Now, I don't rule that out at all, to be honest. I don't rule that out at all. This isn't 100% I think Max Holloway is going to win. But I do think Max Holloway is going to win because of, for the reason I just said there, like, I think, do I see a definitive route for Max Holloway? Yeah, I think if Max Holloway can get his boxing going, push Arnold Allen on the back foot and land lots of shots, I do think he'll win it. I really do. Like, Arnold Allen hits very hard, but is he going to knock Max Holloway out with one shot? Maybe, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, for Arnold Allen to win this fight, as I said, he's going to have to take a big step up. Or I think strength is his one big advantage here over Holloway and over, I think, everyone in that division, even guys who are very, very, very strong. Arnold Allen, I don't think people realise that, how strong he actually is. He's an absolute bull of a man in there. But who has ever done that to Max Holloway, really? Now, as I said, he is the best in the world at that, in that division, so maybe he is the one, but I don't see that as the way of beating Holloway, really. No, I'm talking about this from a betting point of view here. If I was looking at it from a purely analytical point of view as well, you know, maybe we'll call it maybe more down the line, you know. But if I'm trying to convince myself to bet on Holloway, I'm like, well, is strength enough going to be there? Now, it's not strength enough, but you get me. Is strength enough going to be the key to getting a win for Arnold Allen? Is it like a one-shot power enough? Is he going to outbox Max Holloway? Like, I would say probably no to all three of those questions. Unless, as I said again, there's a big uptake in quality. Now, his quality is very good, but Max Holloway's quality is very, very, very good. So I just think it's not the time yet. Like, I think it was a bad match to make because, you know, for a couple of reasons. I just outlined a minute ago, he should have been in an interim shot before the other two guys. He should have got a full title shot before the other two guys. If Volkanovski hadn't gone up, he wouldn't. And then even if you're going to give him another fight, why give him Max Holloway, a guy who has lost multiple times to the champions? But there's also something else here. And I think I was doing a Q&A the other day and someone asked me the question, like, what's Max Holloway fighting for? Well, Max Holloway is fighting, right? So Volkanovski's the champion. He's beat him like 78 times, or how many ever times I've finished. But Volkanovski's also fighting Yair Rodriguez coming up, right? Let's say Yair Rodriguez wins that and Max Holloway wins this. Well, what fight are they going to make then? We know what fight they're going to make then. They're going to make Yair versus Max. So Max is... if you're in the mindset, right, okay, maybe Yair won't win. I think I wouldn't pick him, and I think most people won't pick him. But if you're Max Holloway, you're probably fighting for the mindset that, right, this is if I lose this, right, I'm gonzo. I'm not getting the next title shot, obviously, because Yair has that. If Arnold Allen wins this, he's definitely getting the next title shot. So, you know, I'm coming towards, obviously, the autumn of my career here. And that's another probably 18 months for me without even thinking about getting a title shot, because I'm going to have to win a couple of fights and get back into that conversation as well. So it's probably 2 years. Maybe I have to move weight classes or whatever. But a win here is nothing but positives. You keep yourself in that position. If Volkanovski wins it, you wait for his next fight. Maybe he loses that and then you get the shot. Or if he loses, you get the shot immediately. So it's a massive fight for Max Holloway. It's easy to think sometimes, Max Holloway is out of the picture. But he's only out of the picture because Volkanovski is the one in the picture. What if Volkanovski is no longer the one in the picture? What if Volkanovski wins and decides, okay, I'm done. I'm almost beat Makhachev. I'm going to lightweight. Here's the belt. Keep it. What fight did they make then? Max Holloway is definitely going to be in that fight. We all know that. So it's a massive fight for Holloway. So it's twofold for me. I think he has the technical advantage and ability to win this fight. And I also do think it matters for him. I really do think it matters for him. And I think the mindset will be good. So I'm going for Max Holloway. That's my first bet of the week. You know, and that's a head bet, to be honest. I'm going with my head there. Now, I'm I don't often go with my heart or anything in MMA. I'm not one of those people. Like, I like Max Holloway, I like Arnold Allen, I like all these fighters. So, but it's one of those ones. I think a lot of people, and even if you're not like a big Arnold Allen fan or whatever, or you are, and you're a Max Holloway fan as well, I think you're probably thinking, right, Arnold Allen, he's going to win this for the better of the division. But MMA doesn't work like that. Like, that's not how MMA works. So, Max Holloway, minus 170, first bet of the week against Arnold Allen. The next bet I am going for is Sadibou C, who's fighting Al-Silawi, whose name I constantly mess up. Jarrah Hussein Al-Silawi. Okay. And he is minus 185 to win that fight. And actually, this was just as I was coming on here, these bets updated. So let me just check in. Yeah, he's still minus 185. Yeah, he's still minus 185 at the moment. And also for all these bets, I'm supposed to say at the start of the show, but the updated prices will be on screen here because obviously I record this and my great man John Brannigan edits it and he will give the updated price here. But minus 185 at the moment. Now, this is, I was probably spent 10 minutes talking about the last fight. This fight is going to be a lot more simple for me in terms of how I think this fight is going to go. I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be the most exciting fight in the world, if you want to put it that way. But I think if you're a fan of like tactical, technical fighters, I think this is the fight for you. And if you look at C's fights from last season in the PFL, they were almost all like that, really. He went to 4 decisions. He beat Al-Shak and he beat Rory McDonald. He beat Carlos Leal. And in the finale, he beat Danilo Taylor. And a lot of those fights were done with his size, his speed, his jab, his ability to control guys, his very good takedown defense, his ability to kind of hit and not get hit while not actually hitting even too much. He's very good at kind of slowing I suppose the pace isn't the right word, maybe slowing the output of his opponents. He's a very, very, very tough guy to fight against. Really tough guy to fight against. And Al-Silawi is a guy who he fights in a similar fashion of a controlled striking, but with a little bit more output, maybe with a little bit more all-around speed, if you want to put it that way. Like if you were to do who's the faster puncher, who's the faster mover, I think you would probably say C, but who fights at a faster pace, you would say Al-Silawi, right? But he will, if he does that here, C is just kind of going to move around him, let him come at him, move around him, let him come at him, move around him, and soon he's going to have to adjust that pace. Like C is the master, I think, of controlling the pace. Like he's one of the best fighters in the world at controlling the pace on the feet like that. To make it, he's the master of hitting and not getting hit. And maybe he could hit a little bit more. And I'd be interested to see, obviously after going all the way in the last tournament, or the last season even, if he adjusts that a little bit, maybe if he does open up a little bit. But I think in the first round here, it's probably not the place to do it. His output here, his style here, how he does it here will be less important than maybe the next fight, if you get me. So if he wins this and wins a decision, he will be fine going into the next one. And maybe then, maybe whatever happens if someone gets big knockouts and stuff like that, maybe he'll have to up and change it for the next time. But I think that's the way it's going to go here. Now, I was looking at the bet and maybe thinking of him by decision, and there isn't a big difference in him winning by decision over winning straight up. So I do think, and it's funny, right? I was talking about this in the PFL preview, and I was listening to an interview actually Will Flory did with my colleague Ian O'Neill the other day, who fought on the last PFL card. And the tactics that people use in PFL are very interesting. Like, do you go all out and try to get the 6 points, or do you kind of try to save yourself a little bit, knowing you have a fight coming up in 7 or 8 weeks, which C and all the rest of these guys will have. And the way C fights, it's very hard to imagine he doesn't fight in such a fashion that will protect himself for 7 or 8 weeks' time, So that leads me to believe this is going to be a long fight and him probably winning the decision. But it also makes me believe that he's going to be able to control Al-Silawi and will purposely try to make it a controlled fight. And I don't think Al-Silawi will be able to deal with that. Like, he can hit hard, he's a good finisher and all, but I just don't think he'll be able to get to C. And that is the biggest reason for me picking it here. I don't think he has enough to get to him, and I think C will be able to control the whole fight. So that is my second bet. My third bet of the week is also from the PFL, and I'm going for Denis Golstov to win by TKO KO at plus 125. Obviously, he was supposed to fight a couple of weeks ago, as was his opponent Patrick Brady, against different opponents. Whatever happened, they end up fighting this week. First of all, that's an advantage to Golstov. He's 36 fights into his career. Patrick Brady's only had 5. And I did a preview for their fight, for their individual fights a couple of weeks ago, and their fight this week as well. And you can't help but look at Patrick Brady and think, he's a good fighter, but he's 5 fights into his career and has never fought anyone within the same breath as Denis Golstov in terms of quality. Like, he can strike. Brady, he can wrestle a bit. He looks to have a bit of power, but I didn't see anything that special to show me that kind of he can trouble Golstov. He can stop the takedown. He has enough power maybe to land a big uppercut or a big knee, or enough athleticism to do that against him. I just don't see it. Now, as I said before, in the PFL, you never know. Someone can emerge and something can happen. But I honestly don't think this is going to be one of these. What I think is going to happen here, I was looking at the prices, like Golstov is a big favorite here just to win the fight straight up. He's minus 625. I see in one place here he's actually up to minus 750. Brady's plus 450. I think Golstov will get the takedown, and he is a guy who likes to stay on top and land some ground and pound. Maybe he could get the submission, absolutely, but I think that, I just think he's going to go in. Brady's going to throw a few shots. He's going to end up taking him down. He'll probably end up mounting him, and the referee will stop it. Probably in the first round, probably early, if not in the second round. Honestly, I think it probably will be the first round. I just think, I think Golstov is a complete different level. Just a complete different level. And Brady maybe needed a couple of easier fights in here to get himself to the next level. Maybe next year. I just think that golfing experience and quality is just too much. And I think that plus 125 price to win by TKO KO is very good. So that's my third bet of the week. The fourth bet of the week is, now this one I was a little bit torn on. So I'm going for Yann Cutelaba to win by TKO KO at plus 200. He is fighting Tanner Boser here at UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Allen. And he is the favourite at minus 135, plus 115 for Tanner Boser. And look, I've spoken before about Yann Cutelaba on this show, and I think I've given him as a bet, and I think I've probably picked against him as well. He's one of those guys, right, that if he shows up and he's at his best, he's an absolute killer. He can also show up at his best and get knocked spark out, right? Or he can show up and here's the point. Yann Cutelaba, Tanner Boser shows up and he's basically Tanner Boser, right? He's a good, solid fighter. If he hits you hard, you'll stay hit. He can box. He can kick. He's good wrestling. He can do it all. Like, he's a good middle of the road UFC fighter in 2023, right? Yann Cutelaba, he could turn up, he could knock you out, he could get knocked out. He could turn up, he could absolutely go balls to the wall early and throw everything he has at it. He could turn up and he could take you down and not throw one punch. He could turn up and he could jab and walk around and not hardly throw another punch after that. He could, as I said, he could arrest you. He could turn up. He could be a jiu-jitsu player. You never know with Yann Cutelaba. You never know what you're going to get with him, right? If you look, right, let's have a quick look at his record, because I think it does tell the story of him. He's lost his last 3 in a row to Kennedy Njoku, Johnny Walker, and Ryan Spann, and he beat Devin Clark before that. Lost a couple of times to Ankalaev, but he's good. He beat Khalil Roundtree, who was on a good run at the time. He lost to Glover, lost to a few more people as well. I just think with him, right, I think that against a certain level, he will always do well enough to give himself a chance. Against the level, say like an athletic fighter like, say, Johnny Walker or Ryan Spann, very, very little chance, right? But against, say, someone like a Devin Clark or Khalil Roundtree, but they're kind of athletic enough as well, he will give himself a chance early and take that chance away from himself, right? I think against the Tanner Boser, and here's the point, I think against the Tanner Boser, he'll fancy himself, which is exactly what you need out of Yann Cutelaba. So here's my rule for Yann Cutelaba. If you think he could win the fight, bet on him. If you think he might not win the fight, bet on the other guy, right? So that's my rule for Yann Cutelaba. Now, he's lost most of his recent fights. Let's be honest here. He's 1 win and a draw in the last 7 or 8 or whatever it is, right? He's absolutely, and you're probably thinking this is a stupid pick. And you know what? It might just be. But I have a feeling he's going to go to war here with Tanner Boser early, right? He has been known in recent fights as well to try and takedown at times. Tanner Boser he beat the OSP, but he's lost 3 of his last 4 other than that as well. And, he's a guy who will take a shot to give a shot. He usually loses by decision, to be fair now, so he isn't getting knocked out all over the place or anything like that. But if Cutelaba goes to war, one of them is probably getting knocked out. I was looking at the betting, it's actually not up yet. And the first bet I wanted to go is someone to get knocked out in this fight. The over-under in this is was up at 3.5. I'd like to get the over under at like 1.5 here, and if I could take that, I would like it. Although actually, so the over under is 2.5, 3.5. What am I talking about? The over under at 2.5 is under is minus 205. I'd nearly go for I'd nearly go for it, to be honest. I think someone is getting knocked out here. But you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to go for a Cutelaba at plus 200. I think he's going to come out throwing hands. He'll probably get caught. Boser will probably get caught. One of them will get knocked out. Toss of a coin at plus 200. I'm going for Cutelaba. Right. They're my 4 bets. The flyer of the week is this. Myself and Brad Wharton have done a preview for Cage Warriors, and we talked a good bit about this fight at the very end, because this is the main event for Cage Warriors of the weekend. And I'm going for Yann Liasse. He's plus 400 at the moment. Now, I saw in a couple of other places he's plus 300 as well. So check the betting on that. This price will probably go up and down, I think, as maybe a little bit of analysis comes out and stuff, because I don't think a lot of people know Yann Liasse, or George Hardwick is better known at the moment. But this is the same as my bet from last week, right? If you were to give me straight up who I think will win, I'll probably go with Hardwick. If you're to give me plus 400, I'm definitely going with Yann Liasse. So Hardwick, a very good fighter, very good boxer, especially added in a bit of wrestling. The champion at 155 in Cage Warriors, really, really, really good. And Yann has not fought in Cage Warriors before, so I went in and watched some of his fights. And I'll tell you what, he is well able to be in this position. He's 9-1 fighting 11-1 George Hardwick. He's had a lot of fights in KSW and Brave. His only loss is to Magomedov, who, we all know is a fantastic wrestler. Although even in that fight, I was talking to Brad about it, and he was kind of saying, rightly so, that he defended a lot of those takedowns. He went to a decision. It was by no means, a destruction or anything like that. And the rest of his, the records of the people he has beaten, 5-0, 9-5, 11-9, 2-0. Even in the early in his career, he was beating lads in a similar record with 2 and 3 fights and stuff like that. A very, very good fighter, and a very good striker. As I said, good takedown defense, kicks from far out, has knockout power. But I looked at his record, and I think he has 6 of his 9 wins are by submission, right? And I looked at that first and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to be looking at a jiu-jitsu guy here. And then you're going to look at him and he's a wonderful striker. So I just look at that and I'm thinking, George Hardwick is very good, but also Yann Liasse is very good as well. It's just people maybe won't know him as well. And they won't know the level he's fought as well, maybe. But when you go back and actually look at it, he's fighting some good guys and he's beating them. He's an exciting fighter. He throws these big high kicks, but controlled kicks as well. And he controlled fighting style, switching stances, kicking to the body, kicking to the legs, kicking up high, can throw his jab, can do it all. A very, very, very good fighter now. So that's the bet I'm going for as a flyer of the week, plus 400, Yann Liasse. As I said, it's one of those fights. I honestly think, if I was pricing this up, I would probably go minus 150 Hardwick, plus 120, 125 for Liasse, if that makes sense. So I think the plus 400, plus 300 that I saw in other places is a really, really good price for a flyer. And that's the one I am going for. Right. There are a million fights this weekend, so maybe we won't run through every single one of them on this end recap here, but we'll pick out a couple. Let's start with PFL. Nathan Schultz and Stevie Ray, plus 290. Now, I already gave all my bets for the PFL, so please check that out, and you can see who I am picking there as well. But maybe just to even update the prices. You know what? I like Schultz in that fight, but the more I look at that price after thinking about it for a couple of days, it's a big price on Stevie Ray. It is a big price on Stevie Ray there, but to win the fight straight up, I think Schultz is probably the pick. As I said on the preview for that as well, I like Manfeo at plus 128. I've these are two of my favorite fighters in PFL. I love the style of Alex Martinez. I think he's one of the most enjoyable guys to watch there. But yeah, I think Manfeo as the underdog there is the bet to go. No one's going to be betting on Magomed Karamov at minus. I see minus 1,200 here in one place. Yeah, no. Shane Mitchell's price has kind of gone up again. I think I gave him as one of my underdog plays on the preview. About Mercier and Burgos is even closer now. I think they're pretty much the same, both minus 115 as I look at it here. Very interesting. I see in one place actually Burgos is actually the favourite, so very, very interesting how that has moved in the last while. Clay Collard is a big favourite there again against Nishikawa. And we spoke about Golstov as well. One of maybe the under the radar, well, two under the radar fights, I think. Carlos Leal Miranda and David Zavada. That's a good fight, as is Daniil Taylor and Umalatov. I'd probably go for both of the favourites there, but I would be surprised if Taylor won against Umalatov. Would I be surprised if Zavada won against Miranda? I don't think I would be. So maybe that's not a bad price at minus 160, although not big enough on Zavada, I don't think there. Let's look at Cage Warriors then. That price, and I think on Liasse is going in all the time. I look at him here; he's plus 275 now. So even at the start of the recording, that has gone in again. Maybe it'll be no longer a flyer by the time. It probably isn't already, but by the time this comes out. But look, I've decided on it now. There you go. Chris Bungard Gavin Hughes fight is a very interesting one. Talking to Brad about it, he's like, they fought a few years ago. Bungard is the favourite here, minus 135. I think I'm going Hughes in that one at plus 105. Definitely at that price, I think I'd pick him straight up anyway. Obviously very, very close. Adam Cullen is a big favourite, minus 750. Let's see this Mantekivi Flaminas fight, minus 240 for Flaminas. Mantekivi plus 190. I think that's right. Yeah, I think Flaminas will win that one. But at that price, not a bad price at all. Luke Riley is an opponent. He's fighting Callum Parker. He's a big favourite at minus 450. Liam Malai minus 205 against Josh Reed. Liam Malai is, what is he, 2-3? 3-2? If I'm not, yeah. Let me look. Do you know what? I'll go and I'll check for you now here and tell you what record he is. He is 3-2. Yeah, so I wasn't too far off. I do think he will win that, but never write off Josh Reed. Absolutely never write off Josh Reed. One of my favourite fighters, if anyone listened to the previous show, James Power against Lucas Capera. Big step up for him, and I think the betting companies realise that. He's minus 215, but they realise how good he is as well. So I would go for him there, but you never know. He's only a few fights into his career. Let's see. Then the UFC. Honestly, I was looking through a lot of these UFC fights, and there wasn't really many bets that I liked in this that stood out to me, to be honest. We've obviously talked about Arnold Allen and Max Holloway maybe for enough today. Billy Q, he's the favourite at minus 171 against Edson Barboza, plus 146. The fight doesn't go to decision is probably the one I was looking at there, but it's only minus 135. Sorry, minus 135. Yeah, I don't know. There wasn't anything I saw there that I really loved. Quarantillo by submission is plus 900. That was a flyer I was looking at just because of the way Barboza is, but yeah, there's nothing there for me. Murzanov Jacoby, you never know with Jacoby as well, which fighter is going to turn up. He has been good lately. He is minus 152. To get the knockout is plus 262. Again, I probably would go for that, but not high enough for me. We spoke about Cutelaba against Boser. This Pedro Munoz price against Chris Gutierrez. Definitely going for Gutierrez, but the price maybe puts me off a little bit at minus 207. You never know if Munoz is to turn up. He could put on a good fight, but no, I think the same could be said for Rafa Garcia. If Clay Guida, you can never write him off, but that price at plus 230 is probably not big enough there. Look, one fight I love, the best fight on this card by a long stretch, aside from the main event, is Brandon Rival against Matthias Nicolau. Nicolau is the favourite at minus 210. I think this is going to be a very, very close fight to go to decision. Is plus 105. I like that, to be honest. That was one of the bets I was looking at. I find it. I think it's a toss of a kind fight. I was expecting this betting to be even closer, to be honest. I really like both of these guys. I think they're very, very good. If you fancy a finish in this, look, it's big prices for all of the finishes. Rival plus 750, plus 475 for the knockout, plus 500 for Nicolau. The submission for Rival plus 500, plus 650 for Nicolau for the submission. So I'm honestly not too sure. I have a lot of unsurety on this UFC card, to be honest. But if I was to force a pick there, I'd probably pick on price and go for I'd probably go for Rival on the price because I think it's a toss of a coin. So why not? Zach Cummins against Ed Herman. Zach Cummins was talking this week. I saw him about this is my last fight in the UFC and on. And now Ed Herman, Ed Herman is Ed Herman. But when guys start talking like that, you usually think well, are they going to win? So maybe that Ed Herman and plus 186. Although Ed Herman plus 186 in 2023, not sure on that either. Yeah, this card is kind of the drag. So Lucy Pudilova, though, I do like her at minus 135 as maybe the last bet here. So yeah, we will leave it there. I will just recap my bets here, everyone, before I go. Max Holloway minus 170 plus 185 for Sadibou C. Then it's Golstov, obviously, over in PFL 2 plus 125 to get the knockout. To get the knockout at plus 200 is Ian Cutelaba. And the flyer of the week, which is kind of no longer a flyer, Yann Liasse, to win in the main event in Cage Warriors at plus 285, plus 300, plus 400, whatever you can get it at. At this stage, it's kind of gone in too much. Maybe wait till Saturday. Hopefully, it'll go out again and you'll be able to get it at that price. But I honestly, I would take that anything above maybe plus 250 because I think it's a very even fight. As I said, if it's an even money fight, maybe Hardwick. But that one, I like Liasse. I think he's a very good fighter. So, right, that's it for me. I will leave it there. Let me know your bet in the comments section below. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. I appreciate all the support. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.